We're back for Your Ears Only. I'm David Alpern.
I'm Eddie Robinson with this quote from the news. Their enthusiasm is flattering. In the end, though, only she can make that very personal decision. That was Nick Merrill, a spokesman for Hillary Clinton, after the super PAC that helped re-elect President Obama, Priorities USA Action, announced it was formally aligning itself behind a much-predicted presidential run by the former First Lady, New York Senator, and Secretary of State. Now this.
I think all of us share the belief that regardless of party affiliation, that our democracy demands that our citizens can participate in a smooth and effective way.
We have to be willing to play outside the red and blue boxes that the media pundits put us in.
If the Democrats want to insult the women of America by making them believe that they are helpless without Uncle Sugar coming in and providing for them a prescription each month for birth control because they cannot control their libido or their reproductive system without the help of the government, then so be it. Let us take that discussion all across America.
A grab bag of good suggestions to make voting easier from President Obama's hand-picked Commission on Election Administration was largely overshadowed last week by the darker side of politics American style. At Chris Christie's second inauguration as governor of New Jersey, the former top Republican presidential prospect blamed the media for boxing politicians into today's partisan gridlock, while a federal prosecutor sent out another salvo of Bridgegate subpoenas, including to Christie's own reelection campaign and the GOP state committee. And former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee attacked Obamacare's contraceptive mandate in a way that offended many of the women on both sides of the aisle that the party knows it needs.
The image of political leaders also took a hit from the federal indictment of Virginia's former GOP Governor Bob McDonnell and his wife for soliciting and accepting expensive gifts and favors while he was in office. To talk more about how the games politicians play today undermine public confidence and participation in the political process, for Your Ears Only, we're joined by Stephen P. Tryon, a 21-year military veteran, former Pentagon and congressional legislative aide. He's also author of Accountability Citizenship from Xlibris Publishers and accountabilitycitizenship.org. Welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me on.
Well, talk about the decline of voting in recent years in congressional and presidential elections.
The most troubling statistic for me is that in off-cycle elections, and by that I mean the congressional elections where there isn't a presidential race, on average, the participation in those elections is 17% lower than in presidential elections. And if you just look at the off-cycle elections in 2002, 2006, and 2010, the participation overall is less than 40% of the eligible population. And I think that presents a real problem because it allows the minority of people who are at the extremes of the political spectrum to have an outsized effect on our political process.
Well, you say that politics today would actually benefit from the reverse dynamic, more participation in elections for Congress than for president. Why is Congress now more important?
Well, I think Congress has always been more important. I think if you look at the Constitution of the United States, Article 1 is about Congress. Article 2 is about the executive branch and the president. This November 2014, we'll have the power to replace 87%, the entire House of Representatives and one-third of the Senate.
You say part of the problem is the pre-digital communications with constituents that most members of Congress rely on. Talk about the call to action and value proposition features from business marketing that you think congressmen should adopt.
Yeah, I believe that there's a very simple way for us to engage voters in sort of a more 21st century way. And I like to talk about Congress 2.0. You know, every member of Congress has a website. Those websites are funded with tax dollars. There's no reason why you and I can't log into those websites for our member of the House of Representatives and our two senators using our voter registration number and a password, create a secure account, just like we all have with our banks online nowadays, and provide input. They can give us the call to action, if you will, which is anybody else who's involved with the internet business. You know, I work for Overstock.com, so I'm familiar with how we sell on the internet, and we try to create a call to action with our advertising. Well, members of Congress can create a call to action for citizens to provide input if they provide this sort of 21st century interface, and then they can provide a value proposition in terms of giving feedback and showing every member of their district or their state where their views stack up with the other voters who have chosen to participate in that type of survey.
Your prescription for American politics is premised on the need for better information about candidates before and after election. But isn't today's gridlock also a problem of ideology, single-issue voting, and such close coverage that members of Congress can't risk compromise that offends their base constituents?
Yeah, I have a real problem with members of Congress when they start talking about how they can't risk something. And again, that comes from my time as a soldier, right? Congress has the power to vote to send our sons and daughters into harm's way. And the last thing I want to hear from my elected public servant is that they're not willing to take the risk to express clearly to their voters what they stand for. That's not a risk. That's their job, is to express clearly to their voters what they stand for so that we can make a proper choice between candidates.
It doesn't seem that more information will change the minds of an extremely conservative or liberal constituency. So are there methods that might enlarge a constituency with more folks in the middle?
Well, I think that's really why I'm trying to encourage participation. I think the solution is really very easy. If we encourage participation and if we encourage this kind of 21st century engagement using web technology, what we're going to find is a move to the middle because, frankly, most Americans live there. That's where we are. We have common values. We care about our families. We want our roads to work right. We want our communities to be safe. We have shared values, and we can find the middle ground that will allow us to compromise and move forward if we encourage participation in the right way.
Stephen P. Tryon is a 21-year military veteran, Pentagon and congressional legislative aide. His book is Accountability Citizenship from Xlibris Publishers, and his website is accountabilitycitizenship.org.
Quote from the news, "Not very different from the cigarettes that I smoked." That was President Obama in the New Yorker magazine, calling marijuana not more dangerous than alcohol, despite a continuing federal ban. In the same article, the candidate of Yes We Can conceded limits to the good we can do and the bad that we can prevent.
Next, In Bed with Wall Street, for your ears only.